I think you said in the past that the movie Forbidden Planet made a big impact on you as a kid.
Oh, I love Forbidden Planet. It's still my favorite science fiction movie.
It's such an important film, isn't it? Based on the Tempest, Shakespeare's Tempest, and the monster. The monster's so it might even be the scariest monster ever to be in a science fiction film, perhaps even compared to Alien in some ways.
Well, it was, yes. I mean, of course, you see it today, and the film is from 1956, so it's primitive special effects compared to what we do today. But for the time being, for its time, special effects were state of the art and beyond. They had Robbie the Robot, and the monster from the id when he appears in the blaster beams was an amazing creation. You just get a glimpse of him and this terrifying thing, and the sound and all of that was cool. But even more than the appearance of the monsters, there were a lot of scary monsters in science fiction films of the time. Mostly giant bugs or, Godzilla and all that.
Blob.
The Blob was pretty scary, actually.
It was.
That was a pretty cool film, The Blob, the original Blob, with Stephen McQueen. His first role, he was like a 34-year-old playing a teenager.
Yeah, he got lines where he goes, "Dad, you got to believe me, I saw a monster."
But the Blob, was a creature from outer space, and these other things. The Godzilla was a lizard. It got radioactive and all that. And the great thing about the monster from the Eden Forbidden Planet is it came from inside what was basically a good man. Morbius, Dr. Morbius. It was a monster from the id. It destroyed an entire civilization. The Krell, after 1,000,000 years of shining sanity, the Krell could scarcely have imagined what was destroying them. And it's true, we all have these monsters inside us. If the great Krell machine was really built on Earth, I have no doubt that we would destroy ourselves within hours. I mean, look at the things that people do in the world even to this day with wars and murders and suicide bombers, and there's so many people who have monsters inside us.
So isn't the lesson of Forbidden Planet that you can't deny it? You can build this kind of world on rationality and science and one side of the brain, but if you pretend you've extinguished the madness, the other side of the brain, the emotional, the creative, the darker, the moon as opposed to the sun, the side of the brain, then they're going to create monsters that'll bash down your metal door.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean we're all partly beast. The mindless primitive, as they say in that, governed by passions, by lust and fear and rage, and for many of us, these things are never expressed. I think some of the criminals in our society and some of the people suffering insanity basically lose their power to repress their darker feelings, but the rest of us, we suffer these moments of anger at someone where we have this flash of we would love to kill them or something, or moments of lust or all that, and it passes. Our civilized thing damps it down, and we kick the wall instead of kicking in our boss's head or smashing our rival with an axe. But if we had a machine that instantly translated all of our desires, our mental desires, into tangible reality, it would be a pretty nightmarish 24 hours.
There'd be nothing left at the end of it either, would there? No. I think you said you were about 5 or 6 when you started writing stories. Do you remember what they were about, George?
Monster stories. I think I was a little older. Well, I don't know. Maybe it was about that. I still have one of the earliest things I wrote, which was an encyclopedia. I was writing like nonfiction, Encyclopedia of Space, and basically I was drawing too. So I would draw a circle on each planet got its own page. So I would draw up like a circle and color it red and write Mars on top. And Mars is the red planet. It has canals and stuff. But I was mixing real planets like Mars and Venus with planets I saw on shows like Flash Gordon and Rocky Jones Space Ranger. So it would be Mars on one page and Zongo on another page.
So there's this kind of desire to create whole universes there, isn't there? This to build a kind of a universe and then people it with things.
And an exotic universe. I've always been drawn to exoticism, which in some circles has become a dirty word these days. People don't like to be called exotic, but I crave the exotic, and I finally got to travel. I had that little five block world when I was a kid, but as I've become successful, I have traveled to Australia and to all over Europe and a little bit to Africa, to Morocco and all that, and it's been very amazing on one hand, but there are times I feel that I've almost lived too late because it's probably the fault of my own country or Western civilization in general. But like everywhere I go, I find a Starbucks, and
Yeah.
it's where's the I don't want to go to Morocco and find a Starbucks. I want to. I mean, maybe the people of Morocco actually want a
They want
Starbucks.
that. This is the problem. When I went to Morocco, I turned on the TV and got the Cartoon Network, and I went, "Oh, I don't want to see the Cartoon Network in Morocco."
Yes.
No, no, but they wanted it. Well, some of them do. I don't know, but it's
Yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah.
It's like you're craving. I mean, we both have the same things. I have to admit, I see the contradictions inherently in myself. I go to a distant country, and I want a nice, comfortable five-star hotel with room service
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and all of that stuff. But I also want the exotic bazaars and the strange music and the foods that I've never tasted before. I want something different. And the worlds of imagination, science fiction, and fantasy are places where the exotic has lived for a long time and under the hands of writers like Jack Vance and Robert Silverberg and some of the great writers, world builders, Tolkien and all that. It was, I mean, the Shire where Tolkien begins Lord of the Rings. I suppose the Shire is very homey and familiar to someone like Tolkien himself, who grew up in an English pastoral kind of 19th century setting. But to a urban kid from Bayonne, New Jersey, even the Shire was wildly exotic. People living in holes and, going to inns and all of that is pretty wild. And then as you get out in Lord of the Rings, the world gets stranger and stranger, and you have these wonderful places like the Mines of Moria and Lothlorien and Rivendell and Minas Tirith, the towers of Minas Tirith. I want to see all those places.
See,
I want to visit all of them.